We're live.
Hi everybody, welcome to this brainstorm. We're here joined by members of the Brainbox Mastermind group to brainstorm the power of the mastermind today. Now, it's actually the third year that this Brainbox has been going. I can believe we actually started this mastermind group 3 years ago. So although there's quite a few people in there now, about 900 people I believe, we don't always get to hang out like this. So it's brilliant to be here. Thank you everybody for your time. I'm just going to jump straight in. We're using this brainstorming technique, the weather forecast. We're going to use 7 different mindsets. So we're going to look at this situation from the point of view of the lay of the land to start with, kind of identifying the situation as it stands today. Then we're going to look at it on a beautiful sunny day, what it's like a mastermind when everything's going our way. We're going to examine under a rainbow, so that's where we really stretch our imaginations to ask ourselves, if we were sitting on top of a rainbow and could operate the most brilliant mastermind ever, how would that run? Followed by that, we're going to be sort of drop back down to earth again with a bit of a bump, dropping into the rain mindset, which is really a chance to examine some of the potential problems. We notice the leaks in the roof, we notice the blocked drains on a rainy day. So we'll examine where things can potentially go wrong, and I know there's a few people who've got quite a lot to say about that, so that'll be good. So that we can then start to look at what are some of these influences, the winds, whether they be the prevailing winds, the fashions and trends, or the local winds, the actual people that are in these groups, and how we're being influenced by the people that surround us. So that we can finally look at the snow mindset and how we can not only survive but thrive too in any kind of weather condition, so that we can draw up a weather report and really start to understand more about this power of the mastermind. So without any more talking from me, if you'd be so kind as to all just introduce yourselves a little bit, your experiences of masterminding, how you feel about the aspect of a mastermind, kind of setting the lay of the land a little bit, taking stock of everybody's current situation right now in relation to this mastermind. So Amit, perhaps if I can start with you, what are your views on this? Perhaps you could introduce yourself for people that don't know you.
Hi, my name is Amit. I'm the founder of TV show How. I want to say to EJ hi. I don't know if she can hear me.
Hi.
How are you?
Good.
How's your family?
Everyone's great. It's wonderful to see you.
Good seeing you. Anyway, on the Mastermind, I have participated on and off. I'd never really been a member of one. That's why I was more interested in learning more of your viewpoint as well as the rest of the group, and managed to get it off in a neat way using an iPad. So I'm on. Hi, everybody, and I'll try to have more comments later.
Brilliant. EJ, we've been calling you EJ. I hope you don't mind. Alyssa Joy, please introduce yourself to us all.
No. Thank you. EJ or Lisa Joy is fine. It's great either way. My name is Lisa Joy, and I have from Victoria, British Columbia, and I've had several opportunities to be part of masterminds, and being part of a mastermind gives me a greater sense of what's out there. Doing one thing with my mind is one thing, but when I have the opportunity to expand and hear what other people have to say and reflect back, it creates a much wider world. And when there's a lot of support and encouragement and reflection, it creates a bigger voice for everybody. It helps other people move forward, and it helps ourselves move forward in a pretty profound way. I've seen how it really helps. For me, I've seen how I've been able to kind of get a reflection when my mind isn't thinking so well about what I'm doing. I've seen the ability to really see how other people view what I'm doing in a really positive way and be able to get back on track. And also sometimes if I'm taking a route that maybe isn't the best way, to say, hey, you know what, let's move it a little in this way and get a different perspective. And so it just makes life so much more enriching. It's so beautiful. And to have the wisdom of other people, like right there, so many brilliant people. It's such a blessing.
Fantastic. And what are you up to right now?
Been doing a lot of personal development, taking a bit of a break from doing any business stuff, doing a lot of personal development and growth, and getting ready to step back into it in around June. I'm not sure what yet.
Good stuff. Well, let's see if this stimulates some sparks of genius. Ken, lovely to see you. Why don't you introduce yourself to everybody and tell us a little bit about you?
Well, I'm Ken Christian, and everybody in this circle knows me well, but I don't know who else, is going to be watching this. So I'm a psychologist, and I work with people who get stuck in their lives and don't achieve all they really want to. And my experience with Mastermind has been several, and they've varied in quality. One that I was a part of for a while had 6 members, and we met weekly for 2 hours, and it turned out to be extremely constructive because it was highly structured and on point, and we were expected to come and respond in a particular way and divide up the time in a particular way, and I found it very, very useful. Great opportunity to have a backboard for ideas, something to bounce them off of. And I think that masterminds are really great, and especially for people like us who primarily work solo. I think all of us are fairly independent in what we're doing. We're not not a part of big organizations, for sure. I know some of us do a lot of co-creation. One person will probably use that term when she speaks, but and that is of great value. And she was actually a part of the mastermind, Susan, that we both participated in it, and we've done some masterminding in an informal way by just staying in a fairly often collaborative way, even though I'm not on Brainbox very often anymore because I could no longer keep up with it and get anything done, and I need to get a lot done. So
that sounds about right. Thank you for sharing that. Let's hear from Mama Red, who's explained she's not able to see us, or we're not able to see her, should I say, via the camera, but we've got a beautiful picture.
Well, we'll see about that. Can you hear me?
We can hear you and your wonderful laugh. Thank
you. It's so great to be here. And some people I've met, just via discussions. And so it's kind of fun to be on this with people. I have done more of the informal mastermind like Ken was just describing. Susan, our dear beloved co-creationist, and I actually have an event coming up June 19th. And we took a stab at one a couple of weeks ago, which was an interesting experience, but because I'm like you guys, I'm solo. I don't like solopreneur. It's a personal thing for me, but so I just call myself a business owner. But I have been in business since '88 and been in different kinds of masterminds. Some, like you said, Ken, worked really well, and others were not. And I personally believe that one of the most amazing things about them is that you get a chance to be with other people that, at least my dream is, if they'll call me on my crap if I'm pulling crap. Susan knows that about me. And they'll also encourage when things are going well. And then again, that idea thing, have you thought about? Which I find ever so easy to do for others and much less easy for myself when I'm, here with me, myself, and I. So that's one of the things I like about it, is that you have a partnership, and my goal is always for it to be everybody wins and everybody learns.
For sure. Brilliant. Well, thank you for sharing that. Let's hear from the co-creation queen. Would you like to introduce yourself in your beautiful surrounding? Your microphone may be muted, I'm not sure.
Uh-oh, I hope not. Can you hear me?
No, you're good.
There it is.
Okay, good. Maybe I just need to move a little closer. Hi, I'm Susan Davis, and I am actually the founding champion of the co-creation community. And I actually founded the co-creation community about 3 years ago because I am totally in support of masterminding and co-creating, doing things collaboratively, because I really truly believe that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts, and that if we team and we really do that in a facilitated and powerful way where we honor everybody's gifts and ideas, that whatever the whole is will be much, much bigger and better for having collaborated. My experience with masterminding actually goes back many, many years. I was part of an extremely powerful mastermind for 8 years. And it was 12 companies that were like my own, spread throughout the United States. And we would, it was very facilitated and very structured. And we would meet in person in a different location every 6 months. And we would go through 4 days of this masterminding, facilitated masterminding technique. And then we were also in touch with each other's companies, and the principals of the companies were really the biggest participants in this mastermind, although we did bring our employees, some of our employees, and then when the actual thing happened in the various locations, the employees, the trade specialists, the consultants, all the people that company dealt with, even clients, were involved in the process. So I saw that really incredible experience of 8 years of doing this with 12 companies throughout the country. Really, that's what I credit the growth of our own company to. And we actually increased the revenue. We started with revenue of about $550,000. We increased it over the 8 years to close to $3 million a year. And it was incredible. So I love masterminding. I think what it does is it stretches us to really think outside the box, to do everything that EJ said, everything that Ken said, everything that Ahmed said, everything that Mama Red said, everything. It does that when it's done really well. And I can say with everybody here, gosh, I know everybody here, which is really cool. And I feel like we have experienced masterminding on Brainbox, and then also taken that, even broader, some of us, to other platforms. And it's exciting to see everybody here and to be, and I can't tell you how much I love weather forecasting. I think that is an incredible model of facilitating masterminding. So I'm excited to be here.
Brilliant. Oh, well, good stuff, and thank you for that. Let's move on to Terry. Terry, why don't you introduce yourself to us?
Well, everybody already took all the good things.
Hey, Terry!
I mean,
long time no see.
Yes, definitely. And so for those of you who don't know me, I'm Terry McIntosh. I'm a small business coach. I work with small business owners. And what I do is I help them own a business that doesn't own them. So there's a lot behind that, and don't have a lot of time to get into that right now, but basically work with them on their time management, on the systems within their business, and helping them to grow their business to the point that they're comfortable with. My experience with masterminding is a lot of in my previous life. I was doing a lot of corporate work, and found out that it's really, really beneficial for me to bounce my ideas off of people for a couple of reasons. One, make sure I'm on the right track, and two, to validate if they are on the right track. So those things are very important to me. I'm a naturally collaborative person. I mean, I can come up with good ideas, but everybody always has their little bit of self-doubt. Is that really a good idea, or is that not? And so the guidance and the validation from a mastermind has always been very beneficial to me.
Yeah, thank you. Absolutely. I mean, I couldn't agree more. And to a degree, I use Brainbox as a little bit of a test bed, a kind of sample target market to a degree, because there's enough of us in there now that you get to gauge whether people respond to something or not. So yeah, and I know equally you shared when I invited you to join this some of the frustrations that we can have, and Ken, you touched on this briefly too. It can be quite time consuming if it's not constructive time, and that's certainly been one of my experiences of masterminds. So that kind of sets the scene in terms of laying the land. Now, on a beautiful sunny day, on a day when everything's going our way, on a day when the sun's resources give us as much energy as we need, count that as money, count that as time, count that, as you will, what would you be doing to see a mastermind succeed? What would a mastermind be doing for you on a beautiful sunny day? What are the kind of upsides to all of this when it's going your way? And perhaps I can come straight to Mama Red for this one.
Oh, I never have opinions. I don't know what would make you think that. My version of a sunny day would be that we all have a chance to share what we've done so that we can all be excited, because I think having those encouragement is just as much as being able to say, no, Ken, you're on the wrong track. I mean, I think having someplace where you can go that people encourage you, but it's not facetious encouragement. It's not made up encouragement. It's truly, wow, really great. And then you can also say in a safe zone, yeah, I'm really struggling with this. This sucks toads. I really don't know how to handle it, and not think that you're going to be my biggie, made fun of or looked at because, well, oh my God, you should know how to do that. You've done systems for 30 years. What is your problem? So I think a safe zone and a place where you can share and also have the structure so that everybody gets a chance to be part of the whole.
Would you add mutual trust into that? I mean, we don't necessarily want a load of people around us that are just saying, yes, brilliant, even if it's
exactly. I mean, don't tell me
we need honesty.
Exactly. I think you need the honesty. I think the honesty can come and be handled really, really well. I mean, I think Susan and I've talked, and there's been some times Susan said, no, I don't think that's working, and I trust Susan not to be doing it to hurt me, to say, I really want you to succeed. So to me, that's another aspect of a sunny day mastermind is we're looking for everybody that has committed to it to succeed, and in a way that matches their definition of success, whether that's more time off for personal development, or that's more money, or that's time to go on a vacation in Belize, whatever it is, that we're there to support that, and also be a sounding board that's a very trusting, honest, safe zone for people to be who they are.
Absolutely. Amid, I know that you're a big one on this. What would you add to that on a beautiful sunny day?
When I pose my idea, I'd like to come up almost 180 degrees from where I was going by receiving feedback. And 180 may be a total difference, but maybe if I get 10% degree variance, meaning, let's say I'm saying my idea will take me south, and then when we're done, I'm probably going at 90 degrees, or I'm going back 180, because the group was able to I'm not really big on catching the pitfalls, so maybe pointing the pitfalls of an idea, but better yet, if they can use my idea to allow a pivot to improve the idea or arrive at a brand new idea, that's much better. That's my sunny day take on a mastermind situation.
Sure. EJ, I see you nodding. What would you like to add?
I remember meeting Amid in California, and it was really kind of that whole beautiful sense of him going to, really wanting to create community. And that's the way I remember Amit saying, I built businesses before by myself, and I don't want to do that anymore. I want to everybody to raise their boat at the same time. And that was the power of the message that I remember meeting Amit. He was so passionate and still about creating an environment where everybody kind of grows and learns together. And everybody on this mastermind right now also had very similar passions about wanting to co-create and be in that place where people elevate each other. And so that's it. I think that's really important, is just bringing each other up, bringing that element up.
Sure. Terry, anything to add?
Well, again, as so many people are saying such really good things here. Just that they're saying that you get your ideas out. That again, I'm going back to, I keep going back to it, but the the validation. You said it a little bit earlier. I forget who had mentioned me. Mama Red did. But just people are, you have a good idea, yeah, that's a good idea, or no, that's not a good idea, and this is why. And then, they say it in a kind of respectful way. So, and sometimes that can be the challenge, right?
Yeah, absolutely. In a very respectful way. I feel like I'm in a 1980s strobe light disco watching you at the moment. I don't know if that's
my camera is freaking out.
Maybe it's the lights just getting to that point. Anyway, not to worry. Hope we've not got anybody epileptic watching. Ken, I'll come on to.
That's a very funny joke. I think that my ideal picture of a mastermind is people with complementary personal styles, almost directions. I think we gain the most, I certainly do, when I know somebody's there who's strong in an area where I've not yet fully developed. And I like providing what I can give to somebody who may need that, but they're already helping me with, something else. And I have probably done more personal time with Susan than anybody else in this particular group. And that's because Susan is like the grandest collaborator of all. I mean, she'll drive from 600 miles away to see you talk the next day. And it's an amazing thing to be with somebody like her. And I'm always struck by her generosity. Somebody else who has meant a lot to me, and I've never really said this to you, Amit, is the way you just start and do something. You are somebody who doesn't stay thinking about it very long before you're doing it. And I have a tendency, partly because I'm ambitious, I really want it to be well done. But that's too much stuff goes on in my head. I'm not, the rubber's not on the road, and I'm not doing any test runs with stuff. So when I said I got too busy for Brainbox to keep up with it, it's because I tend to pull away and I can go in and feel like what I've really got to do is focus, because I am really distractible, and it's one of my best qualities, but it can really be my nemesis. And watching you, just do things and learn them as you are on the fly, it is you have no idea what a generous act that is for you to model that for me, who can hesitate and wait and do too much equivocating, really.
I'm going to make sure the check is in the mail, guys. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
You're embarrassing me. I appreciate it. Ken, yeah. I thank you. I've been watching you as well, and honestly, this could be turned into a love fest instead of something productive. I love everybody in the group, you know that. But I've also had a philosophy, and that we all rise together, whether financially or not. That's not really what's relevant. I'm in Miami. My little brother wants to start a quit smoking clinic. And from things I learned in the Brainbox, within 2 days, right now, if you search e-cigarette Miami, or if you search quit smoking Miami or smokeless tobacco Miami, within 2 days from things I learned from you guys, I'm #1 on Google with 2 videos. So, and I've been using that to launch literal brick and mortar businesses. We have 3 brick and mortar businesses that are doing very well, courtesy of things that I teach them how to advertise without spending a penny. So go ahead, Ken. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, the other person who is a starter and does things is Celia. I mean, just, in my personal direct experience. And Mama Red and Terry, I believe, are people I know less directly. So I don't know. The thing I'm most curious about with you, Mama Red, is exactly how you got your name. But
I'm always happy to hear
the color of your hair as a child, I have no clue. But it's very pleasant to hear your voice, and it's great to see you, Terry, as well, because I haven't spent much time with you.
Brilliant. Let's stick with the beautiful sunny day in all of this and hear what Susan's got to say before we switch mindsets and move on.
I hope you can hear me because the Google jets are going overhead, and it's kind of loud out here. So I think that one of the best things about a really good mastermind is when you have committed people. And I totally agree with Ken in that I think that you have to have people who are aligned in the way, in their dedication and their commitment. But it's great to have different kinds of people with different perspectives. If everybody was like me, it would be not a good thing. So I think having commitment and being accountable. I think that showing up for what if a good mastermind, a great mastermind has structure, and within that structure, people have to show up. And I mean showing up in terms of time. If it's scheduled time, you be there, but also showing up with giving value and listening and honoring and edifying, like Ken and everybody else has been doing. That's the kind of showing up that's really important. And so I think that for me, a really good mastermind on a sunny day is committed people who are aligned in the mastermind structure and cause and the core values, and then are held accountable by themselves and by each other to really contribute.
Fantastic. And on a beautiful sunny day, we can sort of see towards the horizon more, can't we? We tend to look up and out a day like you've got there in your beautiful garden. What would you see, in your expert opinion, would be the future of masterminding, the way things are going at the moment? Maybe the future of our particular little mastermind, or indeed masterminding, collaborating, co-creating in general?
Oh, well, from my perspective, and that is from how I have always worked, but also I live in Silicon Valley, and I see the corporate from the standpoint of Google, LinkedIn, Facebook, Evernote, I mean, you name it, they're here. And the model, and also from Stanford University. Those are the players that I kind of play with and observe just from my daily life, and it's all about collaboration. It really is. This is the way that things are moving, and I believe globally, everywhere. And so having a structure to do that well is really important, which is why I love the weather forecast structure, because it's so it is structured, but it allows for really powerful masterminding and collaboration. So I see it as a really powerful way that things are changing and changing for the better.
Good stuff. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, collaborations is where it's at. And, even the science is now suggesting that we're actually influenced physically, mentally, emotionally by the people that surround us, whether we actually connect with them, through conversation, through standard traditional communication or not, simply because we're operating in a communal vibration, so to speak. So I think we're going to, I don't want to get into too much depth in this now, but you can see how more and more importance is going to be given to this, and how it's about coming together on a beautiful sunny day so as to be creative, to be constructive, rather than, of course, what can also happen when lots of people come together is that it can be frustrating, destructive, confusing, and actually have the opposite effect. So brilliant. So switching now mindsets to move into the mindset of the rainbow, and I'm going to ask you just to keep your answers really short and sharp now so that we can catch up on a bit of time. If you had superhero powers, the rainbow mindset's about stretching your imagination. If you had a magic wand, if you had magic wishes, any of those sorts of things, if you could click your fingers to make something happen, what would it be in the context of the mastermind? Mine would be stronger links between everybody so that we just kind of had them almost on a telepathic basis. Terry, what about you?
I had a magic wand. That's a great one. This kind of plays into a little bit of your other questions, though, that where you have somebody who doesn't dominate, right? That everybody has kind of an equal voice. Because a lot of times when I've done facilitation of different groups, that you'll get different people that you'll have a dominating person, or you have somebody that just kind of hides back away, and they they don't necessarily contribute a lot. So I guess, and in the true sense of collaboration, that you have everybody that's contributing equally to the ideas that are put forward by the group.
Okay, and rainbows have pots of gold at the bottom of them, so the story goes. What would be a pot of gold in your definition? How would you define success, in inverted commas, in the context of brainstorming, masterminding?
Is that towards me again?
Yep. I'm just throwing you in at the deep end, I'm afraid.
Thanks. I guess the pot of gold would be that people walk away from the session, feeling kind of inspired and a little renewal, and that they have a better idea of what they went into the mastermind for, coming out of it, rather more so than when they went in. So they're getting what they need out of the group.
Yeah, fantastic. Fantastic. Susan, your superhero power and your pots of gold.
I love what Terry said, because I totally agree with it. And I think that empathy and compassion are really important. And what the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, I don't like to think of the end, it's like ongoing, is those personal connections that you make beyond the group. So you mastermind within this very sometimes small group. I found that if it exceeds 12 people, it's it's hard to handle. So like 9 people is maybe the biggest that is for me. I like 9 people. But then to go beyond that with the personal connections, that where you become friends and you become long-term relationship friends, which is great.
Absolutely. Thank you. Mama Red, your superhero powers and pots of gold.
I'm not not sure what you mean by the superhero power, so I'm not sure how to answer that. But I was just thinking, if I could have my pot of gold, it would be that each one of you are adopted into what I call the Get Ignited family by choice. You're a family of choice, and that we all have each other's backs, and we all have each other's vision of success first in our minds.
Fantastic. Fantastic. By superhero powers, what I'm really asking us to do is stretch our imagination. So if we were sitting on top of a rainbow in that, magical fantasy world almost, because physically it's an impossibility to do. Rainbows are optical illusions. So Susan, you'll be pleased to hear, being an optical illusion, the pot of gold is always constantly just that tiny bit out of reach. We never quite catch up with our goals. We always just set bigger ones. So the superhero powers is another way of how can we stretch our imaginations. If we had magic wishes, if we could do anything at all, perhaps if we could physically bring the whole Brainbox room out of Facebook and into a physical space for one long weekend, that would be a very interesting weekend for everybody, an enjoyable one, I'm sure. Anyway, thank you. Ken, I'm going to come to you for rainbow thoughts and pots of gold.
So, a group that lasted long enough, that the kind of depth that's required, getting past the first steps. I've joined a lot of things that get started and they look like they're going to go okay, and then they lose that continuity that I think is what the treasure is. I think that continuity that allows you to actually go deep and do something more like what masterminds were talked about, 50 years ago, of getting people together and really, really going deep, one person at a time. I think that that's the kind of thing where real magic and real payoffs would occur. And it's the ability to develop enough continuity to get past the first stages and go very, very deeply into the stuff that is magic, I don't, when we talk about if we had magical superpowers, I think we all do, and the mastermind is the best way to tap them, and it's like, that's what takes some time to develop that kind of trust and that kind of faith. It's a word I'll use, faith.
Yeah, where we move away from the fear because of that. Fantastic. Wonderful. EJ, what would you do sitting on top of a rainbow?
I think that what everybody said here, a lot of that was my first thought, was like the long-term kind of connection, collaboration, and develop that relationship so that there was kind of trust. I've been going through a program for the last 6 months with a group of women. I think there's 18 of us, and it's 3 days a week, and it's so intense, like all kind of diving deep into everything. And there's times like, it's only 3 days a week, but there's 4 days it's like I can't do anything. Can't talk to anybody. And it's just that development of connection with women that, it's kind of interesting because I would never have put myself with these women. Like if I saw them on the street, I would not have connected with them. But because we're kind of put together in this group, there's this bond that's developed, this connection that's developed. We're like, hey, you know what? Yeah, I know a lot about your story. You know a lot about my story. And now we can build on that and create that, like this long-term thing. And that's kind of the way I see a mastermind, as being something that we develop and grow and learn together. And I love that. The long-term part's really important, and the sustained commitment of everybody within that, because you're building that relationship to it. And then the piece of outside of that, being able to connect with those people. That's my magical wish, is that I find the ability to feel the value within myself, because a lot of times I feel like, but look where they're at, right? That I feel like, I can just call them, even though they might be 4 or 5 steps ahead of me in certain areas of life, that we're still equal, we're still peers, and we can connect on whatever level we connect on. So, yeah.
Connected through the shared experience as much as the actual levels of, whatever it might be, expertise.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you. Amit, what's your vision of success, your definition of a pot of gold, or indeed what you would do if you had magical powers?
Well, mine is doable, and perhaps if enough of us share it, we'll start doing it. When I joined or became part of Brainbox, I thought that when one of us would put an item up, we would all almost indiscriminately share it. Don't worry about, do I agree with the content or not? And that's my magic wand. I'd love to have a magic wand where Ken wakes up in the morning, has an idea, puts it up, 600 of us will share it unequivocally. Don't worry about what else will happen, okay? No one is going to come and demolish your personality because of Ken's view didn't really agree with yours, you know, and especially if you share all the time, you become, we all become each other's television station that broadcasts. And at that level, any idea we have becomes amplified times 600 times 500. So if you take those numbers, it's like 3 million get to hear your message when you wake up in the morning and you had a, well, for lack of a better word, a brain fart. My magic wand would be that we would all share more of our posts. Nothing fancy or anything, because I really don't want to move the mountain and say, I'd like to come in the morning and have you 6 agenda items solved for me. That's not your job, but your job is if you see me posting somewhere, I assure you, I do it when I see you posting. I always share. I don't really care what your idea is. I say, hey, that's my friend. I got to share his stuff. And I wish we can impart that. That's my part of it.
That's a lovely view, and you know, probably a valid one, and certainly, you know, the power of being able to compound the group as such does make sense. Brilliant. Let's move on to the next mindset then. We're going to, you know, come down off our rainbow with a bit of a thump and adopt more of a damp, depressive, you know, problem-orientated mood now as we use the rain mindset. So, as I said, this kind of shows us the problems. It's an essential part of thinking. People have largely dismissed, you know, what they perceive to be negative thinking in favor of positive thinking, but in actual fact, it's important to do that risk reversal as well. So, you know, looking at this situation from a negative perspective, if you will, from the mindset of the rain, what are some of the potential problems? Where are some of the weak areas? What can possibly go wrong? Ken, I know that you mentioned a few things, so I'm going to come to you to start with. What could possibly go wrong in the context of the mastermind?
The things that can go wrong for me with a mastermind is taking time, investing it, and then having people start to pull away, bail out, depart, and you no longer have what you had. You certainly have a friend or two or contacts you can still make, but there isn't that structure that makes a regularity and makes for keeping an appointment with yourself with other people. And so everybody's busy, so to make the commitment is a big deal. But if we make the commitment, we keep with it, is like what I think can go wrong, because then it's like it gets frayed and people, maybe they didn't even have the potential for staying a long time, but at some point they move away. And that reduces the power of the whole thing you're building. So it makes me very careful about making an initial investment, not in the sense that I don't want to, but I don't want to. It's like coitus interruptus.
Yeah, no, I absolutely get that. You know, there's an instability to it. There are wins that are a part of a mastermind that are absolutely outside of your control, and you know, we can't predict what other wins are going to behave like. We're going to talk about the wins in more detail, but I think that's very valid. Thank you, Terry. I'm going to come to you too, if I may, for rainy day mindset on this.
Sure, yeah. And again, in my experience, it's been that some of the bad things, there may be a person that is just a dominant type in the group, and they will go and all of a sudden the mastermind becomes about them and about their issues and how they stand out and when that happens, if it happens more than once or twice, people are going to stop coming. It's just not. Well, how does this benefit me by helping this person? And when it's collaborative and everybody's getting a little something out of it, then that's fine. But when you have somebody that's dominating, then that can definitely be a detriment. And I think that can be solved if you have a person that's maybe is in charge, the leader or so of the mastermind. Then they act as more as a facilitator, and a strong facilitator in the mastermind can really kind of squash that issue in a graceful manner. So that's what I would add to that.
Brilliant. Susan, your reign on this?
Well, I was going to say almost exactly the same thing as Terry, and I look at it as being able to, when it becomes a problem when ego gets in the way. And when you're in a collaborative situation, which is what a mastermind is, it becomes a we rather than a me. And it becomes a problem when somebody is so focused on the me mindset where it's all about them no matter what. And so I agree with that. I see that as a big hurdle to overcome in a lot of situations.
Sure. Mama Red, do you agree with that? Do you have anything to add?
I absolutely agree with all the things that said. I think the other one that I've experienced personally is, I come to the group because I want the feedback and I want it honest, but I don't think it has to be cruel. And I have experienced a couple situations where I have a very strong personality. I get that, but it doesn't mean you have to be cruel or slam somebody. And I've had a couple masterminds where, because of that personality thing, if you will, there was a lot of that. And this was even though I was, offering consulting services and everything. And so I think finding that so that somebody doesn't feel like they have to leave or feels like they have to shut up because, golly gee, if I say something, I'm just going to get slammed anyway, so screw it. I'm not going to do it.
Absolutely. Amit, would you add any more negative points?
You know what? Early on, Susan said that one of the positives is showing up. When you do commit to a mindset, showing up or lack of showing up would be a bummer, especially if I come and I have a gift for you today. I come up with an idea to help one of your last week's questions, and you don't show up. I would say that would be a rainy day bummer.
That sounds like a good one. EJ, what would you say?
Well, I really am resonating with what everybody has said here, so I'm trying to think of something new that that was something. I think one thing that came up for me was having a mastermind that didn't have very. Individually, I knew the people were strong, but together, there was not a whole lot of feedback. It was just kind of like floppy. I don't know how to, they're just, there wasn't a lot, the feedback, the strength, the kind of resilience, I think of a trampoline, where you have something solid enough to bounce back off of. It was nothing bounced back up. So it just felt like the energy just kind of dropped to the floor, and it was really hard to maintain something like that.
That's interesting, isn't it? And that actually lines us up beautifully for our next mindset, which is the mindset of the wind. And in the context of this weather forecast, the wind represents all of the external influences. So no matter who we are, we're always influenced by the people that surround us. And when we examine them as winds, we realize we can't control them. We can only start to harness their energy. So the important thing for us to look at now is not so much who the wins are, because individually we've kind of accepted, and we've spoken about this already, they're lots of different people and they're coming from different places, and actually what's quite nice about them all from my point of view is they kind of hold a mirror up to us. So actually, you know, if somebody's ego is really kind of charging me, then does that mean I've got to step back and look at my own ego? Quite often it does. So as much as there are negative things, they can be taken in a positive, as a positive message when we move forward. So rather than examining who individually the wins are, where do we think some of these prevailing wins are? Where are some of the wins we'd like to be harnessing more of? Where are some of the technologies, some of the fashions and trends perhaps, some of the patterns that we're seeing, the collective conscience as such? Susan, you've already explained that definitely co-creation is something which is becoming more and more of a must-have in business rather than just a, you know, would like to have. But what do we really think is happening moving forward with this concept of masterminds and the influence on the wider world? Might have made a bit of a mountain explaining that. Susan, where do you see some of the prevailing wins in the context of this masterminding?
Technology is huge and so exciting to me. I know that I'm on the board of our local community access television station, and we, being in Google View, have incorporated into the television studio Google Hangout, so that the producers can use Google Hangout in their television, you know, professional television production. And had I had my thinking cap on, I probably should have gone into the studio to do this hangout, and then we could have experienced that. But I think that, again, the collaboration between media and corporations, you know, Google, LinkedIn, both have their own television studios on campus. And they produce stuff in their corporation. So we, as maybe solopreneurs or small businesses or business owners or whatever we want to call ourselves, we can do the same thing like we're doing today, you know, sitting in my garden with my laptop, with the technology that we have. And Mama Red and I tried doing a similar thing without the Google Hangout and doing it as a teleseminar cross with a live presentation. Celia was there, and, you know, it had its glitches for sure, but it's like the technology now is so great that we can encompass this new stuff and play with it, have fun, figure, you know, we don't have to be super slick at it to try it out and to reach people all over the world. So even within our community access, no longer is it cable. It's now YouTube, Roku, Hulu. You know, it's global. So transmitting our message is so easy and big.
Yeah. Absolutely. Brilliant. Mama Red, I thought it was a brilliant experiment what the two of you wonderful ladies did the other day. What would some of your views be in terms of fashions and trends, you know, where this is all going, how we can be navigating the winds that surround our mastermind as such? We might come back to Mama Red and move to Ken, if that's okay.
Oh, sorry about that. My mic was off.
Oh, that's okay. We'll come back to you then.
Cool beans.
Where do you see some of these, the trends in masterminding?
Do you want Ken or do you want me?
Go on, you go ahead, Mama Red.
Okay, sorry. I was laughing really, really hard, so I muted the microphone. One of the things I find utterly fascinating was with all the technology, all the stuff that Susan just mentioned, all the stuff, I've been in the technology field since the 70s. And, to watch how all it's happened, but find how much we are all craving connection, and we are craving people. We are craving connection to humans. And I really think that where we're moving is that blending of the human connection with the technology connection and getting back to some of the human. I had a woman told me when I was housebound and I couldn't meet with her, and she goes, well, I only meet with people belly to belly. I thought, well, crap, I'm screwed. But I think finding that way to do these kinds of things is important, and using technology where it's appropriate, but not where it's stupid to use it.
Sure. Great answer. Ken, I'll come to you now.
Wow, I've been going in about a bazillion directions with this, and for me, one of the things that by not being in a mastermind right now that I'm not keeping up with really, really well is the trends, how to anticipate them, and how to make good on technology. That's one of the things that amazes me about Amit. He just gets in and does it. But I've had some really bad experiences with new technology where I lost days because of attempting to ride the next wave. So I know that for me, I need to focus and do things well. But, I think it's time for me to hire an assistant. I think I'm way overdue for that. So that's one of the things. But were I in a mastermind, like if this were a mastermind and we met regularly and then we talked about prevailing winds as a major theme for a long time before we did something else, it would be really groovy for me, because I would like to get a picture of the course I'm going to chart on this particular sea with the currents that are going on now, and something that has lasting power, that doesn't have to jump on every new trend. I mean, I don't know how people do Pinterest, Instagram, blah, blah. Susan does it. She does everything. She's amazing to me.
It's fun.
But I don't know. I think I need a Bob in my life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everybody needs a Bob in their life.
Yeah. I've met Bob, I know.
Dang, sheep him out this way, Susan.
Brilliant. Amit, what about the wins from your point of view?
Well, like Ken said, at least participating would be a good win. I don't have prevailing wind. I am going to get off topic slightly, but it's still within topic. If you're doing anything differently than what was popular in 2008 regarding social media, which is YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Google plus a blog of your own, you're really either spinning your wheels with the latest trend, or you're going in a specialized area. If you want to sell merchandise, Pinterest seems to be good. If you're serving the African American community, you have to be on Instagram, even though everybody else is, but that's where they are, and they being the African American. So those are the wins. But I believe whatever it is you're working on, you need to set up 6 television stations, for lack of a better word, and that's your Twitter station, your Facebook, your LinkedIn, your Google Plus, and your YouTube station as well. Lock them all into a blog. Ken keeps talking about me jumping and doing, because if you don't jump and do, what is a trend isn't going to reveal itself as a trend. And if it isn't a trend, you will have missed the bus. That's sort of how I view it. Does that make some sense?
If it isn't a trend, you will have missed the bus?
Well, let's say today you're showing up and you want to be on social media, and you really don't know how to do all of these things I just mentioned, which, by the way, they're really easy if you've been keeping up. Setting up a YouTube channel, setting up a LinkedIn account, setting up a Facebook, setting up a Twitter, and setting up a Google Plus account, and then locking them all into a blog of some sort, and then play around with the blog. Maybe you'll put a TV software on it, maybe you'll put a shopper software on it, depending on what it is you're trying to do. But if you've been jumping to all of the distractions that have happened since 2008, you will have found yourself into about 15 different time wasters, while these rock solid 5 are really the core. So
okay, now I understand. I understand now.
Yeah.
That's so if you see me, I'm really working on the same thing I worked on back in 2008. I've just become so good at it that I set a goal for myself in 2008. I bought the entire inside front cover of every Yellow Pages in our territory, 9 different Yellow Pages, and it didn't get enough money back to pay for the ad. So I said, I have to become a television station. That was my goal. If you look at me on the web, I am a TV station for my specific broadcasts. If you want to search anything to do with my homeland and the war and all that, I come up. And that was the intention. I wanted to be that conversation. If you look at Susan Davis, she's a collaborator queen. If you look at everybody in this group, you yourself can, for the subject matter, you own the subject matter. You've stayed focused, even though, sometimes you may frustrate yourself that you're too focused, but your focus is admirable. You're not miring yourself in all these little side shows, if you will.
Brilliant. Good stuff. EJ, any wins to add?
I just can't. The technology piece, I really see part of what I think is kind of the opposite of the technology piece is really getting back to our communities as well, like having both, having a real strong sense of face-to-face community, which I'm seeing a really. Especially I love you guys. I love having the ability to be have friends all over the world. But when it comes time to really connecting, let's say one day I don't have the power goes out or the Wi-Fi goes down, the ability to connect with people in person and to build that sense of, hey, you know what? I would love to have a coffee with you, or let's go do this other thing, or let's create this event like right here, right now. I think there's something powerful in that we don't get from the same. It would take a lot farther for Susan and I, let's say, to get together than 600 miles, I was saying kilometers, 600 miles at a border, and for you, across the world. So recognizing how important it is to have that sense of both, the broader sense and the more connection with community close by.
Global and local. Brilliant. Yeah. And Terry, I'm not sure I asked you about wins.
No, it looks like I'm still discoing here, so I'll turn off my camera. Sorry.
Oh, you're all right to disco.
So just playing off of what all the others said. From my own perspective in the coaching world, it's really convenient that you don't have to travel someplace to speak with somebody, even face to face, and to have the technology there to facilitate. I'm a recovering tech geek, so I'm going to go down that path a little bit.
Yay! I knew I liked you. I'm a recovering one too.
We're all recovering tech geeks.
I haven't caught the disease.
Oh, you haven't caught.
Stay away, Ken. Stay away. Get those anti-technique geek.
You're being influenced by some winds right now.
So, from my own perspective, I see the technology as something that's enabling, at least to my business, because I can bring in people from Europe, from Australia, from Canada and the U.S. all together, and we can all speak just like we are right now. And in my line of business, that's very beneficial. But I do. Everybody here has stated about being more, personal, more live, and I think over the technology you do lose that. There's a little bit that you do lose, because I know when I'm sitting across, in a Starbucks or whatever, talking to somebody, there's always something that comes up that you might not think of. Maybe you just see their body language, or their facial expression, or something that you might not be able to see in through the technology, or just a feeling that you might get from them when you are across the table, as opposed to have this proxy, this computer in between you two. So I do see the value in both, in the technology, like EJ said, the breadth that you can reach, the reach that you can get. But when you want to get really down in a deep relationship, it's so much easier when you are face to face. You can actually reach out and touch some money to take the AT&T 70s slogan.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think there's that co-emoting that happens when we're together physically. Yes. Where actually our emotions kind of sync with each other in a slightly different way, whether that be, in conflict or in creation. Thank you, Terry. Just sticking with you now as we move into the next mindset, which is the context of snow. So snow effectively covers up all of the details and drops the temperatures down, meaning that our basic survival is questioned. So, the very first thing becomes, how can we survive? If I bring you in, Terry, on a snowy day as such, when the conditions are really terrible, when it's really cold and frosty, metaphorically speaking, what becomes imperative to the survival of the power of the mastermind?
Well, being in Denver, I know about snow. So, but as far, let me see. I'm trying to frame this in the right way. Now, is the question more about what I would need from the mastermind to survive as a member? I'm not quite sure of how...
That's certainly one way you can answer it from that point of view, and also from the point of view of, what does the mastermind actually need to survive when suddenly conditions get very frosty and cold? I don't know quite what they might be, but, say Facebook goes down as far as Brainbox is concerned, or, say a group of people will have a fallout with each other, something emotionally, the situation turns cold and frosty. When the situation gets challenging, what would be required for survival, yours personally and of the groups?
Yeah, I think for the group itself, again, I go back to my comment earlier about having a strong facilitator there, somebody that can see these things maybe come and maybe head them off before they get to a certain point where things are really frosty. Another thing that I've seen is that if they it's best to have people in the group that have a sense of humor, because if you have things that are not going very well and the tension gets really high, somebody can just crack a joke and it just breaks the tension. If people don't have a good sense of humor, then that's not going to work. And so I would say a good facilitator, have people that have a sense of humor. For me, from the personal side, for the what I would need to survive in the mastermind is, again, going back to something that we had talked about earlier, I have to be getting something out of it. Either feeling that I am heard when I'm contributing to people, or that I am getting a benefit personally or in my business.
Absolutely, yeah. Very valid. And having learned to survive, where might you throw metaphorical snowballs? The snow brings out the silly side in the best of us, even when, once we've got past the harsh conditions, once we've got our hat and gloves on. What gives you that sense of, childish fun to a degree, free fun in the context of masterminding?
Oh, boy. just that you can you can laugh, you can have fun. If it is a pretty tight group, you know stuff about each other, you know stuff outside of the business context, and I'll say, hey, how's your kids? Oh, my son crashed on his bike the other day, and now he's just stuff like that you can really talk about, that brings you into a little bit deeper level. And also and you can just, like I said, you can just laugh about certain things about your life in general.
Yeah, the ability to step back from it and see it from a different perspective slightly.
Exactly.
Brilliant. Thank you. Snow, from your point of view, Susan, what's imperative to the survival of the mastermind?
I totally agree with Terry. I think that we have to have fun. My personal philosophy, if it's not fun, I don't want to do it. And so, celebrating. And I think that when we celebrate together and we are there for each other in the rough times, and we can celebrate with each other for the good things, that really does tighten the group, and it makes it really forges those relationships that it's really all about. And so I think that would be the thing that I would say that would get you out of the snow, is to celebrate and celebrate successes, and also be there for each other, just as much as you possibly can. I mean, it's really frustrating often when it's a mastermind using technology that I can't drive up to be with EJ when she needs that. But I do think that we can do that within our own communities, and I so agree with her, that our masterminding is great, but we need to extend it beyond that to our own communities, and as often as possible connect with the mastermind people in person.
Good stuff. Yeah, I think that's very valuable. EJ, I see you nodding. Do you want to add anything in there?
I'm nodding all the time, like I'm agreeing with everybody. As far as weathering the snowstorms, wow, I think of them as snowstorms. I saw this great picture the other day on Pinterest, and it was of snow covering the walking sign, like the little man, and you can see the light right through the snow. And I kind of see that is like, even through the snow, you're going to be able to see the light that shines behind the group, even if it's like a film of it. Eventually it's going to melt or blown off or something. And so we have the ability, if as a group there's still a strong enough foundation that snow is just going to cover it for a little while, and then the light's just going to shine through and we'll be able to move forward.
Fantastic. Yep. Keep the fires burning bright. Everybody else is there to stoke wood on the fire when it feels like snow for us personally a little bit.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Amid, your snow.
You know what? The metaphor talked about how the snow covers all. Sometimes we need to use that metaphor to remember the overall objective of the mastermind. In that, don't bog yourself too much with the details. Maybe the view from a little bit higher up is a lot prettier than you think. Just because you're looking at people's feet, you need to step up a little bit from the top.
I like that one. Ken, what would you add?
As a Sacramento kid, primarily, most of my life, for the Bay Area, I don't know anything about surviving snow. Snow is something I went to see and play in. I know you need snow plows when a lot of snow comes. I know you can slide off the road with snow. So I relate to the negative sides of it as not the cold that I've experienced, although going skiing, if you don't bring the right clothes, I feel, that it's a time when you're awkward and you're not moving very well and you're encumbered. And I don't exactly know how to relate that to the mastermind. I suppose if we all got bogged down at the same time, I would hope, actually, that if you're in snow, I'm not. And if I'm in snow, you're not. And if we were in a mastermind, we'd help each other, either by putting on some Jimmy Buffett songs or I don't know.
No, but I mean, you're right. That, to a degree, that's the fantastic thing about this global mastermind that we've got going on with Brainbox, isn't it? Is that actually at some point of day, 24/7, somebody is up in somewhere in the world, and somebody's in a different frame of mind from you are. So they hold up a mirror that maybe reflects a different picture back to you, which is sometimes what needs to be shown in the moment. Valid point. Who have I missed out? Mama Red.
Considering I'm in Indiana and we had the worst winter ever, and at one point I was 45 minutes from being taken to a shelter because we had no heat. This was an interesting analogy, but as I thought about how we have all said that the longevity, the being part of the group, the committing, everything is so important, and I really, really do agree. And I think one of the things that's also inevitable is either things will shift or, one of us might feel that it's time for us to depart. And I think that could be a form of what I call, the winter snow, is because it's never easy to lose a friend. But I also think it's something that we need to honor and say, okay, for example, I had to back away from everything for almost 5 years. I would come out and come in because I was seriously ill. And so I know that there are pros and cons to it, but that's what I would consider a snow, is if we lost one of our members.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. And so at that point, that's, I guess, when you send out the rescue team on in the snow. Dig them out of the avalanche as such. Brilliant. Where would you throw some snowballs in terms of deriving that sense of fun?
I happen to love balloons, and it's a particularly fun, smiling thing. So I think I would send up a balloon picture, or if you were next door, I would walk you some. And I think the celebrating and playing, and I forget because I get serious as a heart attack on most days. So that reminder to smile and crack a joke is so vital.
Brilliant. Great. Well, listen, that's the 6 mindsets. We're now moving into the final closing weather report. It's a chance to sort of summarize what it is that we've thought about. I think we've covered quite a lot there, and actually I'm going to listen to this conversation back again and draw up a mind map so as to present a weather report to the rest of the group. I think this has been some valuable fragments of information that we've extracted there, and things that we can actually start to do to reinforce what's going on in Brainbox and, personally in other aspects of projects that I'm involved in. For me, to summarise from that as part of the weather report, what's winning is very much this mutual success. It's no good or indeed an equal contribution, an equal in and an equal out, so that there's an equal rising, in the sense when we're stronger, when we're co-creating, when we're co-supportive, actually, which is very much where scientists are at in terms of nature and how that evolves. It's no longer survival of the strongest, survival of the fittest, as Charles Darwin assumed it to be, but now they're starting to realise that actually nature's much more co-supportive, co-creative. And so for me, winning in terms of that is creating this balanced environment in which everyone can sort of nurture themselves and grow and collaborate and create freely with other people in that circle of trust that has equally connected connections, whether they're slightly looser ones, as we have in Brainbox, or much stronger, deeper ones, as EJ was explaining with her local group. Provided the connections are equal, I think it seems to work very well. So that's what success for me would be from all of that. how we achieve it, I guess, is more and more things like this. Does anyone have any summaries in terms of what they would like to say, what winning would be, what a successful result would be as a result of this conversation moving forward, and perhaps what action steps we can start to take to see that come to fruition? Anyone got anything they'd like to say in summary? Perhaps anyone can wave their hands that's particularly got any closing statements? I promised Ken that I wouldn't go over an hour and a half, and I've got 8 minutes to go, 7 minutes to go.
I actually have a question, and it may take us off, and we can do it offline. But I've always been curious, and I don't know that you've ever addressed it. You use the WEATHER metaphor, but it's WHETH. ER, that is the weather report. What's the reason for that name? Because I don't think I've heard you speak of it.
So the weather forecast helps us decide whether to do one thing or whether to do another.
Okay.
And it uses metaphors of the weather.
Okay.
So in confusing everybody even further, whether to do one thing is WHETHER, and of course the weather is spelt WEA. So mine is a WH forecast, as in whether to do one thing or whether to do another. It's a decision-making process, only my whole approach to this is, traditionally that weighing up the pros versus the cons, that devil on one side of our shoulder, that angel on the other, that, debate where one team's arguing for or something and the other team's arguing against it. Instantly, we're making a decision by conflict. And more importantly, that decision tends to be a compromise. We agree to settle somewhere in the middle. From here to here, we kind of end up here. And that's a sacrifice on both sides. Nobody's particularly passionately engaged with the compromise, or we've had to actually have a winner and a loser, the devil or the angel, whoever it might be, in order to move forward. And I don't like this concept of winners and losers. I like this concept of, mutual growth, mutual collaboration. Everybody's succeeding. That's the group strength is stronger than the individual on their own. And so for that reason, using these parallel perspectives, and I noticed a lot of you were saying there, oh yeah, I agree with what so-and-so's saying. Yeah, I agree with that. And EJ beautifully at one point, you said, well, I'm agreeing with what everybody else is saying, so now I've got to think of something else. And so actually these parallel perspectives then encourages our thinking to dig a bit deeper, taking us into a broader understanding, rather than giving us the easy option of just, no, I'm right, no, I'm right, no, I'm right, and so on, which is the traditional way of thinking. So I call it the weather forecast because it's a decision-making tool that allows you to divine, if you will, a sense of direction moving forward.
It's not designed to build consensus necessarily.
So we're reaching a conclusion by collective consensus. Individually, I hope each of you got out of that conversation something which may have left you stimulated to think about an aspect in further depth, and with some clarity in terms of what masterminding means to you. What is the success in masterminding for you? And your success might be different to my success, but that's fine, because ultimately we're in line with each other. We're helping and supporting each other to move forward. So it helps us all individually to reach our own unique conclusions, whilst collectively appreciating more from where everybody else is coming from, because even without realizing it, we've actually been much more honest with each other through these parallel perspectives than we might have been with direct questioning. I think I was explaining to Terry earlier, if we ask the question, how are you? Oh, I'm fine, comes the standard answer. And that's neither right nor wrong. That's kind of one of those slightly dishonest, easy responses. How are you feeling on a sunny day? How are you feeling on a rainy day? How are you feeling when your basic survival's questioned? How are you feeling when I put you up on top of a rainbow? Instantly, the answers are coming from many more different perspectives, and we're just getting a much more holistic overview of the real situation. So I promise to analyse this information that we've just generated now and create a synopsis of the conversation, which will just help us all to stand back and look at what we've said from a slightly different perspective, which in turn will, shed its degree of information onto the situation. I have to say I've been getting some tremendous results with this weather forecast, and people, and teams of people experiencing fabulous time savings, as much as 3/4 of an hour saved. People achieving the same result in 15 minutes they'd otherwise achieve in an hour. I'm looking to train up licensed weather reporters, and I'm now ready to do so. I know that I've been prepping for quite some time, but we're off. So this is almost the pre-launch to the launch of my licensed weather reporter program, which is coming very soon. And if you want early bird access, weatherobservatory.com is the website. If not, thank you all very much for participating. I will share the report as such with everybody in Brainbox, and hopefully we can engage more of Brainbox too to get involved in more of these conversations going forward. I think we need more of them.
Agreed.
Thank you.
Good stuff. Thank you all. Thank you all.
Bye, everybody.
Have a great day.
Bye. Good seeing you, everybody.
Thanks, Celia. Thanks, everybody.